Hey there! From MOBAs that never took off, to mobile games that were actually fun, to multiplayer modes that made you feel like Batman spraying in Gotham, DC has a weird habit of making really interesting games and then letting them die. So today I felt like diving into the past just a little. We're talking about the promising DC games you literally cannot play anymore. I want to go over what made them special, why I really miss some of them, and why despite everything they disappeared like they never existed. Let's get into it. Starting with DC's answer to League of Legends, the first on my list is of course Disney's Infinite Crisis. The game released in 2015 and on paper it actually sounded pretty cool. A free-to-play MOBA set in DC multiverse, where instead of just regular Batman and Superman, you get unique alternate universe versions. In particular Gaslight versions, Atomic Age ones, Nightmare ones, and a bunch of other multiverse stuff. Gameplay was classic MOBA. Lanes, towers, jungles, minions, teamfights, and all of this to destroy your enemy's base. Out of two big MOBAs, which is League and Dota, this one copies League a lot more, but if you played one or the other you'll understand the concept. And that's kind of where the main problem was. You see, it wasn't broken, it wasn't a bad game, but it didn't really do anything new. The characters were the best part for sure. Seeing all these alternate DC versions fighting each other was pretty cool, and some of them played really differently. But balance was a bit messy, some characters were a little too strong, others useless, and updates didn't really fix it fast enough. One of the biggest complaints was specifically the absence of AI bots, believe it or not. Those who wanted to play often wouldn't find a game, or would have waited in queue for hours, because crazy enough, the game's Steam peak was only 7,000 players, which is sad. 90% of the characters were locked behind a paywall, and you'd pay about $10 for each new character unless you grinded currency, which you could do, it would just take you a while. But taking everything into account, all of this caused the title to unfortunately never gain a big follower base. It was shut down only 5 months after launch, and I, to this day, have this game in my Steam library, and sometimes I look at it and let out just a tiny tear, thinking of what it could have been. I'd gladly go in and play as my prime Batman right now, but sadly, I don't think I'll ever have a chance again. To summarize, I don't think the game failed because it was bad, but it was very safe, very late, and pretty much invisible in a big genre where only two massive giants survive. Everyone else, not really. Now switching gears to something completely different, we have DC Legends. I first heard about this game almost a decade back from Angry Joe, and despite a lot of bashing online on how undercooked it was at the time, this mobile game somehow survived for 7 whole years, which in mobile terms is kind of a miracle. It launched back in 2016 as DC's answer to games like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, turn-based combat, hero collecting, leveling characters, slapping gear on them, and then watching Batman and his friends beat the hell out of villains on autoplay, where you really only ever play yourself once there's a tough boss to fight. Pretty standard stuff. The main story pulled from The Blackest Night, which was actually a solid choice, and over the years the roster got absolutely massive. Not just Batman and Superman, we're talking about deep cut characters, villains, lanterns, everyone. That was honestly the game's biggest strength and why it lasted. There's simply nowhere else you could get and play as these characters. And if you like DC comics, it's really hard to resist getting a brand new Black Flash, for example. But the problems never really went away. The grind was brutal, just like normal mobile games. Progression was slow unless you spend money, and balance changes could randomly kill your favorite character overnight. PvP has shifted into whales fighting other whales while everyone else watched, and then there were also bugs. Sometimes the game crashed, there were some broken abilities, and updates that fixed one thing could sometimes break a couple other ones. Even years in, the game still felt like it was held together by a duct tape. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, most mobile games are like this. So why did this one shut down? Well, it seemed the developers just kinda gave up. There was a big lag of new content and bugs weren't fixed fast enough. The revenue dipped below 250,000 per month, which is apparently low for a mobile game, and it was shut down on October 31st, 2023, after running for 7 years. Marvel Strike Force, by the way, a Marvel game that has the same concept, is still alive to this day. But it's a good reminder to remember not to put in money into these kinds of games. They will all go down eventually. At least don't put in too much money. Alright, now let's talk about the juicy parts. Batman Arkham Underworld, aka the Arkham game you probably forgot even existed. This dropped in 2016 as a mobile game and was taking place on a timeline after Batman Arkham Origins. And the hook was actually pretty cool. Instead of being Batman for the 1000th time, you ran Gotham's crime from the villain side. You built underground hideouts, filled them with traps, recruited goons, then defended your loot from other players. Basically Clash of Clans, but in Arkham style. Story-wise, it took place in Arkham universe once again, with Batman gone and Gotham falling apart. The villains are basically fighting over what's left. Each one has their own reason for wanting control. Riddler wants to prove he's smarter than everyone, Penguin wants power and profit, Harley wants chaos, and you're just kinda helping them all ruin the city in different ways. As you play through the game, you could recruit all of them and play as any of these villains, and the final guy you unlock was Bane, which was basically, I believe, the final level of the game. And yeah, the main concept was half base builder, half action. You designed your lair and then attacked the other players. But the game felt like it had a soul. It was simple, but it was fun. But as the time went by, the grind kicked in. Progress got slow unless you paid, balance was messy, and PvP turned into whales bullying everyone else. Updates slowed down, content got repetitive, and players quietly left. Eventually Warner Bros just shut it down, no big goodbye, just service off and game gone forever. And quite honestly, it's a big shame. I mean, it's still an Arkham title, and it was really promising at the start. Why can't they just slap an offline mode on it, make an actual beginning and the ending for the game story, and then charge people $5 for it? No need to keep your servers up. But no, the game's gone forever and you can never play it again. Arkham Underworld didn't fail because it was bad. It failed because it was a really good idea stuck inside a mobile phone, which means there's a high chance it will die soon, and it did. And while we're talking about Arkham games that vanished, we have to talk about Batman Arkham Origins multiplayer, which dropped around the same time, and oh my god, this was so good. Arkham Origins came out in 2013, and unlike the main story, the multiplayer was this weird but really cool experiment. It wasn't just Batman vs thugs, it was a 3v3v2. 3 Joker gang members, 3 Bane gang members, and then Batman and Robin just trying to beat them all. The gangs fought each other with guns, gadgets, and brute force, trying to control the map. But then Batman and Robin showed up, and that's where fun begins. Because they are basically horror monsters you kinda have to survive. They will try to silently take you down, they will try to sudden drop kick you from the ceiling. They made you feel like a prey, and what's amazing is that everyone were real players. And honestly, it was genius. If gangs survived and scored enough points, they could invite their bosses to try and defeat the heroes, Joker and Bane, and I feel like we just never got anything like that ever again. But the mode never really got the love it needed. It launched with limited maps, balance issues, and not enough long-term support. Player numbers dropped fast, and without a big competitive scene or major updates, it just faded away. Then when the service went down, that was it. No offline mode, no bots, no way to preserve it. One of the most unique multiplayer ideas in a superhero game just gone. So between Arkham Underworld and Arkham Origins multiplayer, Warner Bros. Somehow managed to make 2 really interesting Arkham experiments, and then they just both died. Thankfully there are some good news at least for this one. Fans really appreciated this multiplayer, and there is a mod out there that lets you revive and host your own servers. So if you have a few friends who like Arkham games, you can actually still play with them. You just have to be the host. I think I know what I'm doing after this video. Moving on, we have DC Unchained, and look, I won't lie, this is a mobile game I'm actually sad I missed out. DC Unchained dropped in 2018 as a mobile action RPG, and unlike most mobile DC games, this one actually tried to feel like a real game. You have fast-paced combat, dodge rolls, special abilities, flashy supers. It felt closer to a tiny Arkham Light than a spreadsheet turn-based boredom fest. Story-wise, it had a unique concept of heroes and villains basically uniting together to fight alien invasion, Darkseid and all that stuff, and it was pretty fresh at the time. The roster wasn't as big, but all characters played differently. Some were fast, some were heavy hitters, some were glass cannons. It wasn't just cosmetic. The game had PvE missions, boss fights, raids, PvP, and events actually felt worth doing. And for a mobile game, honestly, it looked really good. Animations were clean, combat felt smooth, and it didn't feel like it was wasting your time as much. So why did it die? Well, money and scale. DC Unchained was expensive to make, expensive to update, and didn't make enough money to justify keeping it alive. It was launched in Asian market primarily to test out the waters, and it looks like the test wasn't passed. Mobile players tend to spend more on slower, grindy gacha games, not fast action games that actually require, I don't know, skill or fun. I don't know why people didn't buy this. I think one of the main reasons might be is that marketing barely existed. I have never heard of this game until I started making this video. This title simply never received a good player base, and competition from way bigger mobile titles was there already. So Warner Bros. Just pulled the plug and never got it on the main market. And that just kinda makes me sad. Its main Marvel competitor, Marvel Future Fight, is still alive and kicking to this day. And as I'm wiping my tears, we have one more game to talk about. In fact, this one was released very recently and it's already shut down. Yeah. DC games drop faster than flies. I'm of course talking about DC Dual Force. It was a digital card game that dropped in 2023. Think Hearthstone, but with DC characters. You build decks around heroes and villains, mix light and dark sides, and try to outplay your opponents with combos and synergies. And on paper, I guess things were neat. You could pair Batman with villains or run full hero teams, go full chaos. Cards looked good, animations were clean, and mechanically it actually worked. But nobody was playing it. The marketing was basically invisible, the player base stayed tiny, and card games live and die by population. If queues are long and matches feel empty, people just leave, and once they leave, it snowballs fast. Content updates were slow, the meta got stale quickly, and without a big competitive scene or streamer hype, it just didn't survive. Suffice to say, Warner Bros. Shut it down in under a year. Just 1 year. And yes, as you may know, Marvel's Snap, a Marvel card game, is still alive and kicking to this day. Last mobile title I want to touch on very briefly is called DC Heroes and Villains. This was a match 3 puzzle game with DC characters, dropped in 2023. You match colors, trigger abilities, and watch Batman, Wonder Woman and everyone else do flashy attacks every few moves. Simple, casual, and phone-friendly. Once again, very normal, nothing too stand out or unusual, it was just there. And I'm sure you could see this coming. It launched into a market already full of puzzle games, barely got marketed, and never built a real audience. Player numbers stayed low, revenue stayed low, and it went away very quickly. And I'm sorry to say this, but once again, its Marvel competitor, Marvel Puzzle Quest, is still alive and well to this day. Like bro, can DC get a win anywhere? What are we doing? Final game on today's list is my personal deep scar on the heart and hurts the most. Gotham City Imposters, released in 2012, and it was basically Call of Duty meets Gotham. You didn't play as Batman or Joker, you played as their fans. Literal cosplayers running around Gotham with homemade guns, jetpacks, roller skates, and grappling hooks. The concept was 2 teams, Bats versus Jokers. Bats were tactical and gadget heavy, Jokers were loud, explosive, and crazy. The gameplay was fast, chaotic, and honestly it looked fun for its time. It didn't care to be very serious, you just wanted you to have a good time. And here's the key, I really wanted to play this. Problem was, it was mainly on Xbox Live, and when I was a kid, well, let's just say I didn't have access to Xbox Live. Years go by, and guess what? Of course the game's gone. Servers are dead, no way to buy it, no way to experience it the way it was meant to be played, and well, it's just another one bites the dust, I guess. The game died because it was this weird niche, badly marketed title, and it just didn't sell enough. It went full price at first, then free to play, player base dropped after that, updates slowed down, and the plug was pulled. So yeah, Gotham City Imposters is my personal scar on the heart, I guess. A game I missed and will miss forever. And that's kind of it. Tell me in the comments what your favorite dead DC game is, which ones you want revived, and finally what you look forward to in the future of DC video games. Subscribe and like, please, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.